Hey, this is just a quick note to let you know that Team Champs 2025 has been sponsored by City Strength. You're probably already familiar with City Strength. They're Australia's exclusive retailer for SBD, but they also sell a broader range of strength and powerlifting related equipment. So, a big thanks to City Strength for sponsoring our competition this year. And I hope you enjoy this episode. G'day, everyone. I'm here with Vinay from Avia Performance. Probably the first call we're doing, or first interview I'm doing, where it's an international one. And we're going to get into that in a second. Avia are no stranger to Team Champs. They've been around both as a business, but also as a competitor in our competition for a very long time. So I'm looking forward to being able to speak to director, owner, big boss man, Vinay. How are you going?
I'm good, JP. How are you?
Good, mate. Good. So you're joining us from Fiji, which I'm sure most of
Yes.
your members and everyone at Avia will be very much aware of. But for the
I
broader
certainly
community,
hope so by now.
what are you doing? What are you doing there?
Yeah, so good question. So we're actually here for my wife's work. So she got an opportunity. My wife works in the international development space, and her company just recently won a project to run a skills development project based out of Fiji. And that serves pretty much the entire Pacific. So the contract goes for a year, and it means obviously I have a big change of work at the moment, not being at the gym face to face Monday through to Friday, Saturday sometimes. And yeah, at the moment, I'm the primary carer for my son too. So a big change of pace, but thoroughly enjoying the warm weather.
Yeah, I mean, that's probably the biggest benefit right now, at least because it's bloody cold here, as I'm sure you're fully aware. Being a gym owner of a warehouse style
Yes.
gym, it gets pretty cold in June, man, and in May it gets cold. It's only going to
Yes,
get
it
worse.
certainly does. I think I had a call with a client the other day, and he was like, "Where are you?" And I was at a cafe, so I could escape the noise at home for half an hour. And he's like, "What's the weather like?" And I was like, "Oh, it's about 26 degrees, a little bit of rain, but it's pretty nice. How about you?" And he was like, "Yeah, it's about 2 degrees this morning and a top of 13." So I certainly don't miss those cold Melbourne mornings.
Yeah, it's pretty rough. But yeah, big change of pace. You're one of the coaches that I look at in the industry who has very good hands-on experience and obviously hands-on kind of work. This is not a blight on anyone else, but there is obviously a growing trend of online coaching, which obviously is ironically what you're doing full time now. But to the point where I think some people are skipping the steps. There are so many coaches
Yes,
out there that are jumping straight into online coaching. They do one powerlifting meet. It's a bit of a cliche. They get into online
yes,
coaching, but they've never actually worked with people hands on. And I have a huge respect for coaches that are either at least did their time, I suppose, hands on in gym, personal training, all that kind of stuff, or continue to do it like I still continue to do, working in person. So it must be a big change of pace to be fully remote, not being able to deal with people in person.
yeah, well, that's exactly it. Like, I think that conversation in itself could go for a couple of hours, right? In terms of where the industry has gone and how many steps I genuinely think people miss. We see it in lifters; those that focus on the foundations first end up being some of your best lifters, and the same goes for any industry, especially ours with the coaching space, right? You do the fundamentals and you do tons of face-to-face stuff, and you end up being a really good coach, right? Because you have real-world experience working with a variety of different populations. Um, but yeah, it's been a really big change going purely online. And as I was saying to you before the interview officially started, I do really miss that face to face aspect and having real world conversations. And life's not all about, hey, your squat looked really good. It's so much more than that. It's so much. It's just really nice to know things about people and to build and foster those relationships.
Yeah, exactly right. Like you can only do that. Well, not that you can only do that in person, but it's obviously facilitated in person compared to being
Of
online. But
course, yes.
I know you're the kind of person that's always up for a challenge. So it's a new thing. Shifting so much of your work to online,
Yeah,
trying to grow that for the next little bit. So good for you. I'm looking forward to it.
yeah. Thank
And
you.
yeah, so obviously we're here to talk about Team Champs. That's the main thing. And I'm going to take this as a big
Mm.
compliment, but I guess you're coming back. You're coming back next week for the comp, so you will be here in person.
I will be here in person. It kind of all worked out at a really good time because it means I've been away for about 6 weeks. And I said to my business partner and to some of our staff, I think 6 weeks is a really good opportunity for me to come back. And coincidentally, it was Team Champs as well. So, yeah, very good timing.
Yeah, come back, touch base, make sure the place hasn't burned down.
Yeah, well, I have full faith in the guys back home, but it's more so a selfish reason as well. I just want to see everybody and, see my parents and especially my dog who I miss the most.
Yeah, well, like I was going to say, it is a big transition. So cool. So
Yeah.
you'll be here in person, and we're looking forward to having you. Avia, like I said at the start, have a long history at Team Champs. like I said, you as a business, you've been around pretty much since when we opened, I guess, plus or minus a year. And so
Mm.
you've got a very healthy kind of foundation powerlifting in Melbourne, in the powerlifting scene in Melbourne, but obviously at our comp. And I think this might be your fourth. You may have actually been at all of them. I can't remember now, but this may be your fourth appearance. So we're really looking forward to
Yeah,
having you.
I think fourth. Yeah.
So yeah, so we're obviously looking forward to having you guys as a repeat competitor, and um, you've got a pretty healthy team. So I thought maybe we can start by introducing each of your lifters and just going through them briefly and what you're expecting from them and what you're expecting from their weight class.
Yeah, so first off, we'll go, I guess, in the smaller weight classes to the bigger ones. We've got Alem in the 56 kilo weight class. So this will be her first official powerlifting competition. She's been lifting weights for a very, very long time. She's a seasoned gym goer, but her first time dabbling into an official powerlifting competition. So obviously, Alem has some very big competition in that particular weight class with, I believe it's Sophie Dobson. Um, so I think she's going to do really well. We're not putting any pressure on her, and she's not putting any pressure on herself either in terms of an outcome. I think this is just a really good opportunity for her to, one, be a part of a team environment instead of visioning powerlifting as just a solo sport. So yeah, very excited to see what she does. In the next weight class up, we've got Samantha Sutton. She pretty much epitomizes everything that Avia is. She's since she's come on board with us, her competition performances have been fantastic. Her sense of confidence and sense of self on the platform has been second to none. And she's kind of that pick. And I think a lot of people have had these kind of picks in Team Champs where it's not just picking the strongest people, but people that really embody what your gym is all about. And Sam is exactly that. And I know you're no stranger to seeing her on the platform as she's done quite a few comps at TSF. And then next up, we've got Emily Kano. So Em has had a very short prep. So she was overseas for a little bit, and she's pretty much done a 6-week prep into this comp. So no massive expectations, but I do anticipate she will do very well. The goal will be to obviously, take out first place and hopefully take out first place in that 84 kilo weight class across the board, inclusive of that premier bracket. And obviously, she does have some stiff competition there. And then rounding us out is Nicholas Love. So Nick, aka the big dog, is actually in Cambodia at the moment. So he hasn't trained for about a week and a half. So yeah, a really good taper into comp. It's exactly what you want to do. And yeah, our goal for him is just to have a bit of fun on the platform. This is just a bit of a Hail Mary. I think he thoroughly deserved to be on the team. He was probably the most, if not one of the most consistent powerlifters we had compete last year. He added about 30 kilos to his best total. So yeah, very, very excited to see what he can do.
Excellent team. A bit of a mix, a bit of a mix
Yes.
of experience versus what's the opposite of experience? Freshness being new, inexperience, I suppose. A bit of a mix of abilities, but should be a very healthy team. How much contact are you guys having with these lifters? Are you coaching these guys directly, a lot of them, or are they online? Are you coaching these guys online? How much contact are they having at Avia? Like, what's the kind of setup now that you're away?
Yes. Alem and Emily, their direct point of contact is James. So Alem trains at the gym 4 to 5 times a week. So James is all over that. And Emily is in the gym 3 times a week. So they have direct face-to-face contact with James. Samantha's always been an online client because she lives out towards that Bacchus Marshway. So coming to Coburg is obviously not the most viable strategy for her. So she's always been online. And Nick, I was working with face to face, and now he is doing face to face sessions with James at the moment. And I still obviously get all of his videos and his check-ins as well. So yeah, everyone has lots of contact. Some people almost have 2 coaches, which is fantastic.
And so, for those that might not be aware, James Young will be the assistant coach on the day, I presume.
Yeah, he's actually down as the head coach on the day. So
Oh, he is
I'm
the
going
head
to
coach.
be,
Okay.
I'm going to be James's assistant on the day.
All right, I like it. It's going to be the other way around. That's good to see. Um, excellent. And um, yeah, so it's an interesting setup, obviously. And I think you guys do something similar to the way that we do it at TSF, where the various coaches in the gym kind of like work cooperatively to help the individuals rather than
Yes,
being so
exactly.
dogmatic as like they're my client, they're your client. It's like, no, we as a team are trying to
Correct.
help out these individuals.
Yes, yeah, and that's the thing with I think one running, a successful business. It's not just all about the individual; it's about the team, right? It's like you look at a sporting performance. You look at AFL, seeing as though that's a sport that's going on right now. It doesn't matter how well one person plays; it matters how well the whole team plays across the board. It doesn't matter if you get 40 disposals and 3 goals. If your team loses, your team loses, and that's exactly the way the business runs, right? We work as an entire unit as opposed to a few different individuals catting around and doing their own thing.
Yeah, I imagine that also kind of helps in terms of the building the like community spirit or the like that kind of like camaraderie, right? Because everyone's working cooperatively. I mean, I've been in
Yes,
gyms where every coach is their own business, or they're a
yes,
contractor or a personal trainer, and you end up getting this kind of division. Like, I don't know if that's something you've seen in other gyms before.
yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so you've mentioned these lifters, and you also loosely mentioned that you made reference to the Premier bracket, and obviously you guys lifting in the Challengers brackets. Again, most people listening to this
Yes,
would be aware, but you guys are lifting on day one in the Challengers bracket. You made reference to Emily Kenner trying to maybe potentially winning her weight class across the whole board, but let's just preview some of these
yeah,
weight classes. And you mentioned Alem is in a pretty competitive field. She's in the 57 class. The 57 class has 5 lifters in there, but only 3 of them are 2 of them are actually lifting on day one. So it's going to be
yes,
basically on your day one, the day that you're most what's the word, interested in, is the result that you're most interested in, is because some people have spoken about Avia making top 4 and potentially getting promoted. And so Arlen will be facing, one on one directly with Sophie Dobbs from Compound, who's a very, very
yep,
strong lifter.
yes, yep. And obviously, I there's a high chance that Sophie takes out that number 1 spot, and fantastic if she does. We'll take that number 2 spot happily. But I think the way we're approaching Team Champs, and it's a very similar approach that we had last year, and is we're going to run our own race. I think obviously there are lots of different ways to go into a powerlifting competition when you're trying to win and when you're trying to beat people, and sometimes you have to be proactive, sometimes you have to be reactive, and sometimes you need to have a mix of both. But I think wholeheartedly our strategy this year is just to run our own race and not to focus too much on the subtotals, and to really only get concerned once those second and third deadlifts come around, if there's a chance. Because I do think that people do put a lot of pressure on themselves, on their team, and on particular lifters to achieve a result, have a big chance, obviously, of slipping up and maybe making the wrong jump and maybe going 2.5 kilos too heavy, which then opens the door for other people. So yeah, look, I do think there's a big chance that we do get promoted. We're obviously quite close last year. This year's lineup does look a lot different, with the particular teams that are in Challengers and Premier. Obviously some people have opted out this year, and we've got a few new teams in. So yeah, we'll see what happens. Definitely not getting ahead of ourselves at the moment.
I like what you have to say there about running your own race, and if the opportunity presents itself, then of course you'll adjust course, but not getting so caught up with what other people are doing. I suppose it can
Yeah.
often serve more as a distraction than a point of focus.
Yep. Yep.
I do just want to touch on these other weight classes though. So Sam Sutton, you mentioned, she's also in a tough weight class. I think there's 3 of them.
3. Yeah.
All 3 of those girls are lifting on day one. I know
Yes.
Natalia of Compound is basically only too far out in front, and there's really no hope there. Have you had a look at Eleni, if she's what her lifting's like?
Yeah, we have. I think obviously, once the team comes out, you do like to do your research, and research is a really fancy way of saying doing some social media stalking and some open powerlifting stalking.
The
And
tips as
yeah,
well.
I think I think Sam is in there with a shot at obviously trying to look at second place, but we've also had a bit of a different prep for Sam at the moment. Some things have gone really, really well, and some things we're still trying to tweak at the moment. So I'm not going to get too caught up again in the numbers with Sam for squat and bench, but obviously Sam having a pretty strong pull. I think we can definitely do some catching up when it comes time for deadlifts.
Excellent. It's going to be a very competitive weight class. And so the 84 kilo class, you mentioned Emily Kano, super strong lifter, has a very healthy record and open powerlifting database, I suppose, of results.
Yeah.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but she would have won. Did she win best female lifter at nationals last year, or at least she won her weight class?
Yes. Yeah, she did. She won best female.
So very, very strong lifter, lifting in the 84 kilo class with Nikita McBride from Paragon. And so fair to say that Emily would be going into that as the heavy favorite. But the big
Yes.
battle that I'm interested in, as you made reference, is Ardwa Hammond of Apex is lifting on day 2. And
Yes.
of course, Ardwa will have the advantage, but Emily's very strong.
Yeah. So Emily has a slight advantage in terms of going into it on previous totals, but having looked at some of her training, yeah, she's on fire at the moment, and word is that she will look to add, 15 to 20 kilos on her best total. And if that were the case, then, Em's definitely got her back up against the wall, only having a 5 or 6 week prep. But James has taken a slightly different approach to M's programming for the last 5 or 6 weeks, and yeah, she's doing really well. So I won't go too into detail about some of the numbers she's been hitting. I'll see, obviously the goal will be for everyone to see that come the 7th of June. But yeah, I am confident that M will win. I back M all day, and yeah, I think she's with every single competition that she's done, she has shown a very mature side of herself, and she just continues to get better and better at managing herself, her expectations, and her emotions on the day.
Well, some really kind words and some very good insights there, I suppose, into how Emily's going to do. I mean, like you said, she's a very strong lifter, but has that disadvantage lifting on day 1, and Ardwa will have
Yes. Yes.
the um, I guess advantage in the sense of like being able to see what Emily
Yep.
totals and just trying to match it or 2.5 more,
Yeah,
depending on the
I
body weight.
think something that works well for M is M loves to have fun on the day. She, for as good as a lifter as she is, she's not catting around out the back with her headphones on, pacing up and down. Often people are, out in the crowd, and they'll be like, all I can hear is you, James, and Emily just laughing. And I think the fact that she is on day 1, yeah, will actually be of a
Actually, a
benefit
blessing
to
in
her.
disguise. Hmm.
Yeah, yeah. So she can just relax, enjoy herself, and yeah, not focus too much on okay, what did my competition lift? Like, do I need to go up and bench PR today, or can I just go out there, not know the number, and just have a bit of fun?
No, I know exactly the kind of lifter that she is, and
Yeah,
I mean, and it's good that you can appreciate that someone has those tendencies and kind of like, shuffle them towards that. Like sometimes
yeah,
people kind of deviate from what works best for them, and you have to kind of remind them, hey, just you need to do this. You need to psych yourself up more. You need to kind of try to calm down or
yes.
whatever it might be.
Yeah, and that's the art of coaching, right? We always say it, coaching's a blend of the science and the art, and you just need to find out what the balance is for every single person because everyone reacts very, very differently.
Now, the reason that I'm dwelling on this quite so long is Apex are one of the stronger teams on day 2 and are, well touted to be one of the teams that are going to be on the podium or even win the whole
Yes,
thing. And so I think a lot of the result will hinge on how Ardwa stacks up against
yes,
Emily
I agree.
because, that 2 point difference could be the difference between podium and 6th. It could be the difference between winning and not even making the podium. And so um, it'll be really interesting to see what kind of total Emily's able to put up on day 1 and how um, the reactions are going to be, I suppose, once day 1 kind of ends and how Apex are going to plan their kind of assault on that total because
Yeah.
it'll be a hill to climb, but one that I'm sure they're looking forward to the challenge on.
Yeah, Apex has a killer team, and obviously having listened to quite a few of the interviews so far, they're absolutely in contention for that top 2, 3 with Elemental. So yeah, it's going to be a really good battle that hopefully people want to tune into on the challenges day to see how M does because obviously that's going to make big impact into where everyone gets placed on day 2.
Exactly, and I think that's one of the fun things. I remember at last year, it was a common thing that a lot of the teams and lifters that were on day 2 were there on day 1, and watching their reactions as the lifters were making lifts. Like just using this Ardra example and Emily, I want to imagine this a visual of like Ardra's there with Apex team on day 1 watching the lifting, and every time Emily makes a lift, it's like, oh, it's going to be a little bit harder now. It's like that
Yeah,
extra 5 or 10 kilos. It's a little bit more now.
yeah,
Like,
yeah,
but that's part of the fun. It makes it a great spectator event. And you've got Nick Love. So Nick's in the 105. It's a very deep class. There's 6 lifters in this, one, two, three, four,
yes.
six, but only 2 on day 1. So it's basically
Yeah,
going to be Nick and Liam Kubit on day 1.
yeah. Look, I think Liam's a great lifter. He's very strong, and I think there's a high chance that he does take out that first place. Like we based our team. We had no tactics. That was kind of a thing that James and I kind of agreed on. Let's just pick a team that we actually want to pick. Very similar to last year. Not worrying too much about, how many 47s are there or how many 57s are there, and just, teams selection wasn't really based on that. But it's kind of on the Challengers Day, there aren't very deep fields for all of our lifters. Like we've got 2 in the first weight class, 3 in the second, 1 in the third, and then 2 in Nick's. So even with Nick having a bit of fun and coming second, at least that still gives points. Not that that's what we're looking for, but I think that only adds to Nick actually being able to just chill out and have some fun. But in saying that, he does really like competition. Nick's a very competitive guy, so he'll give it his all, and we'll again just see what happens on the day once we run our race.
Excellent. And I know I like that approach. Like I think that's what similar to what we do at TSF is we pick our team based on who we think's best. We try not to get sucked into all the mind games and the strategy and stuff. We want to pick a team that
Yeah,
we want to represent us, that are good lifters obviously, but are also good representatives of the club. And kind of like you mentioned with Sam Sutton example there.
yeah. How with your team selection, did you have many changes across the board, or did you pretty much run the same team and have no changes?
We haven't had any changes actually. We only changed
Yeah,
one
cool.
lifter's weight class, but just been the same lifter
Yep.
since the start. We had a few reserves. We had a few people that were like, "Hey, just pencil yourself in case someone gets hurt or something, or has to pull out. Then you're ready." But fortunately, that never didn't have to eventuate, and our whole team's kind of healthy. And also, something I was going to actually ask you is that your team had to change a little bit from your initial nominations.
Yeah, our initial nominations were just our team from last year. So,
Okay,
um, I um, I hadn't.
it was a
We had
placeholder.
put a bit. Yeah, we had put a bit of thought into who we wanted to be in the team. But I remember when the email came through, instead of worrying too much about, like I haven't finalized anything, I was just like, look, I had a look at the dates that you'd given, and obviously making sure that our actual team was in before then. But that was just a, hey, we're in for Team Champs. Here's John Smith. Here's Mike Ryan, and so on and so forth. But
Yeah.
yeah, that was in no way a bluff. Or it was actually pretty funny when the initial ones came out, and we had people in there that are absolutely not training for powerlifting at the moment because they have other things in
Okay.
life going on, and they're like, Vinay, am I doing Team Champs? And I, and I was like, no, don't stress too much. Like, I think I nearly gave a couple of people a heart attack.
Probably should have worn the name. We're going to use your name.
Yeah, I think I remember doing it, but I think they'd forgotten, and I didn't even realize that the post was going up. So I think when it went up, they were like, "Vinay, is this actually official?"
Yeah, right. Have I been roped into something that I haven't
Yeah,
didn't realize? What have I not? What have I missed?
yeah.
Have I been asleep or something? Yeah, excellent. Now, you guys mentioned that you mentioned Nick Love's very competitive. I know that deep down you are competitive, and so is James Young. What would you guys look at as being your goals for this comp, or do you have anything specific in that sense, or is it simply a case of like if everyone does the best they can, we're going to be happy with wherever we land?
Yeah, I think it's multifaceted because obviously we want everyone to have fun, absolutely. But at the end of the day, powerlifting is a sport, and within sport comes competition, and that's what keeps the wheels turning. So, ideally, we do look to get promoted. I am very curious to see how things go because obviously we do have some new teams that are going to be very competitive. So yeah, look, I think the 2 goals are one, yes, to have fun, but absolutely to push for that promotion.
Yeah, there'll be a few teams like you mentioned. I think the common sentiment is that process powerlifting and compound are basically shoo-ins for promotion. They'll most likely finish 1 and 2, and so there's only really 2 spots left available um, for that promotional spot because 4 teams from the challenge bracket get promoted. And I know
Yes.
there's a lot of teams with their eyes on it. Like we've obviously got our eyes on there. I know that Paragon are really enthusiastic. You guys are enthusiastic, so it's gonna be a very close race. I think.
Yeah, I think it will be, but I think it's just going to be really interesting, like last year, to see where everyone finishes up. If you forget challenges and Premier Bracket and you look at all the teams and you just rank, pretend that it's just one big comp with, all of our respective teams and to see where people finish up. Because obviously last year, you can see it that there were teams that obviously got promoted, but then if you look at the entire competition as a whole, they actually finished below some of the other teams that didn't get
Yes.
promoted. So it's like I also value that because, yes, as much as you have to play within the rules of a competition, and obviously with this one, you don't have to be in the best teams overall, but you have to be in the top 4 on day one. I think it's also cool to see where everyone finishes up. And, even if some teams don't get promoted, they thought they were going to get promoted, it'd be pretty cool to see you finish in the top half of the actual competition as a whole, because I think that's also arguably more interesting than, or more of an accolade than just finishing top 4 on day
Yes.
one.
I fully agree. And actually, one point that reminds me of that I don't think a lot of people appreciate because it can be a little bit complicated is that while we mentioned that 4 teams will get promoted, it could actually be more than that because the way it
Yes.
works is that there's the first is, yeah, so I'm sure you understand, but the top 4 on day one get promoted. And then the next 6, or so 10 teams are going to be in the Premier next year. And the way we choose the next 6 is this the best 6 results
Yep.
outside of those first 4. And so
Yes.
in the very unlikely event that the top 6 teams of the whole competition are all from
Mm.
day one, then
Yep.
you'd get a whole flip. You could literally get a whole thing where all the challengers move up um, to the Premier bracket. Now, of course, that's not
Mm.
likely, but it wouldn't be unlikely that one of those teams that didn't actually qualify ends up in the top 10 more or less, or top 8, and they actually get promoted as well.
Yeah, exactly. And that's exactly it, right? That's why you can't just watch day one and say, "Cool, we didn't get promoted; it's game over." There is still something up for grabs, even come day 2 for teams in day one that didn't get promoted.
Especially for those teams that have lifters in deeper fields, like they often will fall back in the placings. They might have placed well initially on day one, like let's say, especially in those 83, 93 men's classes where there
Mm.
are less lifters. You might place third on day one, but after day 2, you might finish 11th.
Yep.
And so you've just
Yep.
lost all your points.
Yep. Exactly.
So they end up falling back and then more spots become available.
Yes.
Well, we're really looking forward to having you.
Thank
Like I
you.
said at the start, at our comp, it's always a pleasure to have a broad representation from across Melbourne. We've got teams from all corners of Melbourne, literally, as well as interstate and in some sense internationally as well. And so it's been a pleasure chatting to you, mate. And yeah, looking forward to seeing you next week and wishing Avi the best of. Actually, before I run away, I got so distracted I forgot to ask you because I need to get your picks on the top lifters, on the
Yes.
top
The
teams to look out for. I got so excited.
predictions. Yeah.
Your predictions. So maybe you want to go through challenges back, who's getting promoted, and overall.
Yeah, cool. So I think obviously compound and process we've got in challenges, and then we've got 2 spots up for grabs. I will stick to Melbourne teams, and I'll say that it'll be you guys and us that round out the top 4. And then going into the Premier bracket, I really do think Elemental take home the win again. I think they're just a very formidable team, and yeah, the quality of their lifters is just fantastic. And because I am gonna back Emily in that 84 kilo weight class, Apex, well, I'm still going to say I'm going to go Apex third, and second place, I actually don't know who's going to take out that top 3. Like, I'm very confident in Elemental and Apex racking up some points. But that third place, and I know it's been very similar to some of the other interviews as well. And I hate to be undecisive and not to give a definitive answer, but I genuinely don't know who else makes up that top 3.
It does feel very hard to pick. I mean, like it literally could go either way. I'm
I
gonna have to
really
share
feel this
my
year is a lot harder than last year.
yeah, like it really. I mean, it sounds so cliche to say this in sport, but it could just go in so many directions. Like I think I'm agreeing with everyone's sentiment that Apex and ESS are the teams to look out for. People
What
have
about
mentioned
you?
process winning the whole thing, but
Yeah,
then I
who do
look at it
you
a bit more
have?
closely and I'm like, oh, but they're going to drop points. Alex is going to drop points to ESS. There's numerous results that are going to change. Like, for example, Charles Kafusi in the 120s, a lot of people are touting him to win the whole thing, but then he
Yep.
could finish as low as third if he has a bad day. And so you just
Yep.
really don't know. And I mean, that's why we love sports, right? Is you got to lay it all out and see what actually
Yep.
happens.
What are your predictions for challenges and Premier Bracket?
I've got to do a full on, I should do a really full on post and actually go into a thorough thing. But I do think ESS are one to look out for there at the top. They actually haven't won before. They've come third and second. And so looking for first place, I know they'll be hungry, but they do have a bit of a tough challenge with Carmen Di Domenico in the 69s. Like she could finish as low as fourth. She could win. And this is what I mean. Like she could win her class. She could also come fourth. And if she comes fourth, it's very hard to win a team champs when you've got lifters not on the podium. So it could go either way. Apex similarly, if Ardwa has a good day and wins, they could win the whole thing. But if she doesn't, then they could finish third, like you've suggested. Uplift are obviously a strong team. They're always out there. They've won before. They won in 2023.
Mm-hmm.
And so a lot of it just depends. Like there's just so many classes where it's hard to pick. But I would say those are kind of the teams that I'm most kind of like got my eyes on. Compound again could win, but they've also got a lifter in this same class. Like they've got some lifters in some competitive classes, and they could drop points. So yeah,
What's your
I'm
prediction
just
for the
super
other two
excited for it. It's like
teams
my
to
favorite
make
thing.
up the Challengers Day? If you have Compound and Process as shoe-ins for 1 and 2, in no particular order, who do you think takes 3 and 4?
On day one,
Yeah, on day
yeah,
one.
I think it's going to be a close battle. We're obviously up there. You're up there. Paragon's up there. Groove Lifting's up there. Those have probably been my four that are like fighting for those two spots.
Mm-hmm.
But again, I haven't looked at things like as thoroughly as I could. Like potentially, no, I'd say probably those are the kind of main ones. I know, like obviously the wide boys are going to score some points with Brian Ong winning his class, but as well
Yeah,
his lifters are but of course he's got lifters in kind of the deeper classes as well, so they'll drop points. Yeah, it
what
could
an
really go
apt
anyway. And
name for Brian to coach, a wide boy.
yeah, exactly right. I mean, it's funny also because you're like he's in the lightest weight class, but he looks like he's a 105. If you see
Honestly,
him
I
walking
remember
around in his top
watching him
suit.
compete last time, and everyone was like, "How is he in that weight class?" They're like, "He
Yeah,
genuinely looks like he's 93 kilos."
yeah, he's two classes above where he should be.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, I'm just looking forward to it. And how it all pans out. And I love all the predictions that people are doing, and the scouting and the maths and the spreadsheets, and I mean that's all part of the fun, I think. And we just have to see
that's
how it all
exactly
pans
it.
out. I guess
Yep,
nothing you can do, but you just gotta. We'll know once the bar starts hitting the platform, and we'll see where it all kind of lands. Anyway,
that's
mate,
it.
it's been a pleasure chatting to you. You've always got interesting insights and a level head, and so it's always great to hear what you have to say. And yeah, we're looking forward to having you at Team Champs again this year. So thanks for your time.
Thanks for having me on, and I'll see you next week.
Appreciate it. Talk to you soon.
See you, mate. Bye.